Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the United States of a Movie Podcast. We're the movie podcast that likes to make every Monday a fun day as we get together and we talk movies, but we don't do it with no purpose. No, we have a great purpose here at the United States of a Movie, as we are the podcast that's trying to find one movie to define each state in these United States. We've already finished one journey around all 50 states. We are currently now about 6 or 7 states into our second journey around it. We're starting to get a little bit irritated. We might need to pee, stop up and gas up in a little bit. It's going to be tricky though, because the state we're going to this week is the state of Hawaii. Last time we head to Hawaii, we're actually somehow confused as to how we managed to crown the champion for getting Sarah Marshall. So this year, we're trying to really dig into the Hawaii, and boy, did we kind of fail? We'll see. Before we get to it, let's welcome the fellas back to the show. Ryan Sandler, as always, in Phoenix, Arizona, looking fantastic. As always, buddy, welcome back to the show.
Aloha, you fucking monsters. Yeah, I don't know how we landed on these movies, and we somehow picked 2 movies that take place on the small, that both are set on the small island of all of Hawaii.
Well, I feel like, as someone that's never been to Hawaii and honestly has tried to book vacations there 2 or 3 times, I always get completely crippled by they go, which island do you want to go to? And I go, I don't fucking know. Yeah. So it's good to know that, like, so Ryan, you've been not only to Hawaii, but I think you have been to the actual location where one of these movies was set.
You could almost say that I had a perfect getaway.
We'll get to that, but before we do, we have to welcome our other incredible co-host, as always, sitting in the middle of his movie store, right in the center of Los Angeles, California. Will Hirsch, welcome back to the show, buddy.
Thank you. Good to be here. Good that the fire danger has almost passed us over. Not completely out of the woods yet, but everything's looking much better than it was a couple weeks ago.
I would recommend, if there is fire, to step out of woods because they do burn. But jokes aside, Will, good to hear things are going okay. You said you wanted to get into something right now because right now a lot of people are suffering in Los Angeles.
Yeah. So I don't have. There are so many places to go to donate for things. So I'm just going to point you in just kind of general directions. If you look up like humane societies, there were a lot of animals and pets that were displaced. And it's kind of chaos for like a lot of these animal shelters. So finding ways to help like local humane societies out here in LA is big. Look for clothing donation places and anything that's like dealing out food to people who have been displaced from the fires. Again, I had a list on Google Docs, and it was like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people for GoFundMes. So there's too many to mention here, but those just will give you like general directions to like look for that to help people. But,
I'll tell you what, anytime you as a listener or as a viewer hear Achilles, our famous dog that lives next door to Will, bark, donate $1. So with that, we'll raise millions, honestly.
He's been going all day, so
it's all right.
He's actually out collecting.
We love Achilles. He is a treasure. He is our little mascot here on the show. So like I was saying at the beginning, we are heading right back to the state of Hawaii, which was the location for one of the all-time greatest movies we've ever done on the show, which is Hard Ticket to Hawaii. Even though it didn't win, honestly, guys, to figure out how it didn't win, I think we should all take our shirts off and get in the hot tub and think about it, because that's where we do our best.
One step ahead of you. You can't see me from the waist down.
Yeah, Ryan and I are both bottomless in our own separate hot tubs.
For now.
So, but this week, so we are trying to dethrone Forgetting Sarah Marshall, which I remember being somewhat sort of like of a controversial choice, but I feel like we kind of painted ourselves into a corner with it, even though it was very sort of like tourist based. Now, this time around, we bought 2 movies that honestly, they could not be more different, but they do go pretty Hawaii. I will give them credit. Ryan, do you want to introduce one of our first movies?
Ooh, I mean, I think I already said it, but we picked the film from a year I can't remember. I want to say 2002.
You want to say 2002? I'm pretty sure you're wrong, but
I want to say 1997, but I'm pretty sure it's 2009.
Yeah, the 2009, yeah.
A Perfect Getaway starring Josh Duham. No, Timothy OnlyFans.
Yes, A Perfect
Steve Zahn,
Getaway.
Mila Jovovich.
That's right. And someone...
Nikki from Lost, and it was bothering me the entire movie who she was until I finally put that together.
I never made it to season 3 of Lost. I watched one season, then got 3 episodes into season 2 and said, they're just going to keep asking more questions, aren't they? Yeah. You know what? I was right. But yeah, Keila Sanchez. I want to go with Keila Sanchez. But yeah, this was a movie. It's directed and written by David Twohy, which it seems like a familiar name. He's the one that's behind all the Chronicles of Riddick, all of those Riddick movies and things like that. Yeah. But though you guys were going off on the text thread that I was just reading because I was avoiding it for spoilers, this guy's written a lot of movies.
Yeah. When I said G.I. Jane, I think The Fugitive, right?
Yeah, his name is attached to a lot of stuff. Like he was a known entity, like even before he did like the first like Pitch Black. Like he had been in the business for a while by that point.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I remember seeing Pitch Black on a plane during my gap year. We got randomly bumped up to first class on our flight to Bali with me and my buddy, and it was this random movie, and it crushed. But before that, he wrote G.I. Jane. He wrote and directed The Arrival. Isn't that the Charlie Sheen?
Yeah, not to be confused with Denis Villeneuve's Arrival.
Yeah, a much better Alien.
Well, hang on.
He also wrote Waterworld. No shit. He wrote Terminal Velocity. That's also Charlie Sheen. That's one of 2 parachuting movies that came out that year. I actually quite like that one. He wrote The Fugitive as well, which is absolutely bonkers to me. But after doing The Chronicles of Riddick in 2004, he came back a few years later with A Perfect Getaway. This movie, what an interesting movie. And I will say, it's a movie that, honestly, I was frustrated by how good it could have been.
Yeah.
If he could have just stopped trying to be so clever.
Yeah.
With, I'm writing a movie about people talking about writing a movie. Oh, and I'm going to call my own shots. And I honestly got quite frustrated about it.
It was a tough one. I think we talked about this last time. Like, I hadn't seen this movie much like Phantom, like since it came out forever, when it was on whatever cable service I had. And I had completely forgotten, spoiler alert, like the whole twist, like halfway through, I'm like, wait, who are they? Is Steve Zahn and Mila Jovovich? Are they like the thing? I'm like, that wouldn't make sense because you have the whole red herring bit with Chris Hemsworth.
Quite literally spelled out as a red herring.
I'm positive 22 Jump Streets like saw this movie and they were like, oh, let's just literally do that.
Yeah, they should have just named the character like Red Herring, like Scooby-Doo, like
the plain view red herrings. You're 100% right. I'll give you a quick synopsis about what this movie is about. But essentially, it features Mila Jovovich and Steve Zahn as a newlywed couple. They're in Hawaii for their honeymoon. As they find out there's been a murder in Honolulu, but we're on the island of, what island are we on, Ryan?
Kauai.
Kauai rhymes with Hawaii. And they sort of go on this sort of like adventure where suddenly they're faced with a couple of couples, Chris Hemsworth, and I think Marley Shelton being the other one, and then Timothy Olyphant, Keila Sanchez. And it's this quite tense, and I'm gonna honestly say I did like the last 20 minutes. There was a bit of like for the tension of it all. But as we get into this movie later on, you're going to find out the same thing that we were all very frustrated about is David Twohy couldn't help himself while making this movie. And I feel like I wish he had. But before we get to that, Will, why don't you introduce the other movie? Honestly, I'm making you introduce it, but I'm pretty sure I was the one that made us do
this. Yeah, I'm picking a movie that has slightly less meth use in it, and that's Lilo and Stitch.
Meth use maybe in the movie, but maybe quite a lot for when it came for the writing.
I mean, like, this was such... So I had not seen Lilo and Stitch since it had come out, and it came out while I was in... high school. So I was fully in the age where I was like, Disney is stupid. I'm like watching Akira at this point. And I'm like, I'm so much cooler than this like Disney crap. So I was like, I was not into it. So it was nice to go back and watch it as an adult. Mm-hmm. And I could actually appreciate this movie and be like, oh, this is a perfectly fine, cute movie. Yeah. I'm really enjoying it. All my teenage angst had like gone away. So
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I can enjoy this.
I'm glad you said that, because I was a little bit of me was worried, but I'm watching it too, and I was like, I remember seeing it. It says 2002, so I was like, I think it was like 20 years old or something in Hong Kong. I remember seeing it and just it being fun. I just remember it cracking me up. Ryan, had you seen it before?
I had never seen it before, and much like Will, I have like a very adverse reaction to like straight Disney films, but I do appreciate like that era of like traditional animation. So
Yes.
I think probably the last like proper Disney films I saw was like around the time of like Lion King and Aladdin. Those were like after that I kind of transitioned to, let's say, like Toy Story and stuff. But still, I just never clicked with the like this type of Disney film. But you're right, like seeing it with fresh eyes, I'm like, okay, this is like actually a very solid, like a very well constructed film. I think I was going into it with certain expectations too. I'm like, I knew about this movie, but not having seen it, I'm like, oh, it opens with like a 20-minute like insane cold open that I wasn't fucking expecting.
And honestly, that's kind of what, because as soon as you said, oh, I'm not really into sort of like, straight Disney movies, the whole point of this one is it isn't. It's like, even the poster is like just Stitch just sitting there, and all of like the famous characters that you've seen from The Lion King and Aladdin, everyone are like looking at him like
Dead.
Yeah. And it's like there's one in every family. And honestly, that's the thing, is that like right from the get-go, what I really enjoy about this is that it's like, nah, man, we're just going a bit weird. We're going weird. And I love it for it. It's kind of one that like I quite enjoy in the same vein as The Emperor's New Groove.
Yeah.
A movie that honestly, when you get into the behind the scenes about how that movie was being made, it never should have existed. And it was
David Spade classic.
Yes, but I agree that it actually is. And so this one is random. It is
making some
crazy,
choices. Yeah.
but I love it. It's swinging for the random fences. And like you said, Ryan, one of the things that I really, really loved about it is that first 15 minutes is, hey guys, they created a sci-fi world. They built out that world. They created all of these creatures and these ships and this society and everything else just for this cold open that I was like, man, this movie rips. I'm right. This movie is.
It's like you can see like the inspiration, like I know I mentioned it, like any Rick and Morty episode. It's just like, let's just put a fucking eyeball here, some horns here, it's just some weird shit. And I appreciate that. And I love that all the like until you get to like once you actually get to Earth on Hawaii. All the backgrounds are like watercolor painted. It's a completely different feeling. So you're having that like alien experience, which I thought was cool.
And what I also like is that something like you mentioned is that this was a big deal about when Lilo and Stitch came out, is because it was traditional animation. This is at a time when we were already doing the Toy Stories and the 3D animation, and people really sort of like leaning into it. And I remember a big selling point of Lilo and Stitch is no, we're doing it in the traditional Disney animation style. But with like this kind of like, we're crossing over a little bit with some of the stuff that they can do with computers. But that's the thing I really enjoy about this one, is it looks old school, even though it is like 2002.
And this was this before or after like the Iron Giant? So I wonder, like,
this is after.
Yeah, because that was basically traditional animation. The only, like we said, the only character that was 3D was the giant himself, right? But
yeah, that was 99. By the way, I heard Achilles. Everyone donate $1.
Yeah.
$2. We got $2, guys.
He's on a drive right now.
We need like a little ticker that goes up.
Leave it. I can't. This is what I mean. Every time this dog barks, I want you to be thinking about we could be helping, we could be donating. Yeah. But this movie is it's bonkers. It's random. It's charming. It's weird.
What if E.T. was a complete fucking psychopath?
Yeah. Well, yeah. What if? And that's kind of the fun thing, that there's still that Disney about it. Is essentially the Stitch, as he becomes named later by Lilo, her own little monster of herself on Hawaii. But Experiment 626, he is a creature that's been created by a wild, crazy scientist in space whose only thing is to destroy.
Who might be Russian?
Yeah.
He's Russian, and his character felt interesting because it felt a lot to me like, he was originally supposed to be. I don't know. The dog is going insane.
No, don't worry. This is we're at $200 already. It's great.
I will never financially recover from this.
But like his character starts off as like this mad scientist, and then kind of becomes a completely different character.
A bounty hunter.
Yeah, like a bounty hunter. Like later on, it made me wonder. Like, I wonder if some of the behind the scenes thing is these were two different characters, and they were just like for time or clarity, mash them together. Because like he's
then you
complete mad evil scientist, and then the rest
but then
of the
you
time,
also have the backup bounty hunter.
yeah, one of the oh my god, what is it? He's from not White
Kevin Richardson.
Kevin Richards from oh my god, Brain Candy. Why am I Kids in the Hall? Oh my god.
Oh yeah.
That was gonna drive me crazy. Yeah. Doing the voice was great, but yeah, like they become this comedic duo. It's just it's strange how this kind of came together like this.
Well, stuff. I did also mention, like, when we were on our text thread, and like I remember Ryan was sort of going, how did this movie cost? What was it?
$80 million.
$80 million. And I said, well, it's probably got something to do with 9/11. And you thought I was joking, but this was a movie that had to be changed because of 9/11. Now, Ryan, did you look it up, or
I didn't.
Okay, so we'll get into. I'll save it. I think I'll save it. I'll save it for a little bit when we get down into a little bit of it. But this is a movie that, like, in the last act, had to be fundamentally changed because of 9/11. A Disney movie had to be changed because of 9/11. But that being said, I like that it's weird. And I like that it's weird. It leans into the weirdness of Stitch, but it also leans into the weirdness of Lilo. Lilo being just this young girl. She lives in Hawaii. She's being raised by her sister Nani, which is played by Tia Carrera, which just makes her hot. Like, let's be honest. And it's like, but she is just this weird little kid that no one really sort of like is getting with, and because she lives in this broken home. I just like that this is like a Disney movie with a broken home, with a tough upbringing, with a kid that's a bit weird, with this alien that's a bit weird, and it still manages to Disney it all at the end of it and just go, you know what? Ohana means family, and nobody lets left behind. It still touches my little heart.
You also have like Ving Rhames in this movie as
himself,
the craziest like CPS officer. Like,
I'll have some thoughts on that too when we get to, especially like the last act with him, where I was kind of like, what? All right,
former CIA as we get into, but no, let's keep going, because you know what? I feel like we're going to have a lot to say about the other movies, so let's keep the momentum going and let's swing away. Let's go with Lilo and Stitch. So I'd suggested it. We get into it. Ryan, you were talking about that interesting first 20 minutes. Talk to me about what you were thinking was going to happen as this movie started, because we are in the middle of the galaxy and we are not in Hawaii.
Right. Well, I mean, I knew where it was going. Obviously, like the whole escape sequence, he crash lands and ends up in an animal shelter.
Yes.
Cool. I loved the animation in this. Like, I really do appreciate traditional animation when it's done well. That said, it did kind of feel, that's why I was like shocked by the budget. I felt kind of cheap comparing it to like an Aladdin or a Lion King. Like, there was something unpolished about the animation. I couldn't put my finger on it.
This is kind of that like post Disney Renaissance era. Like, so they were out of the prestige like era of Disney movies, and this is Toy Story was taking, Pixar was really doing its thing. I was surprised this wasn't a musical.
That's right.
I was like, oh, there's no music. So this is in that era where Disney was like, let's cut the
songs. What kids hate? Music.
Yeah.
Well,
kids will never listen to music again. It's done.
It's not a musical, but it is powered by the music of Elvis Presley, which I thought was quite interesting. So the music that does play, it's all Elvis because
they're cover, like are they cover songs?
A lot of them actually are. Because like Lilo loves loves Elvis, is always listening to sort of Elvis movie, like things like that, and it's just like, I kind of like, that's what I mean, is like, we were used to going and seeing a certain kind of Disney movie, kind of like Will's saying with the Renaissance, right? And you've had the Aladdins, and you've had the Little Mermaids, and you've had the Lion King, and these things have been like, you've got Elton John, and you've got like Lloyd Webber, and whatever, right? Everybody's involved in this stuff, and it's all these massive productions, and it's always got a big message, and we're singing about it, and it's like, this one is like, nah, it's just kind of like a weird alien and a weird kid, and she likes Elvis. But I like that about it.
I don't know what it felt like. This was a Disney movie that was made for TV as opposed to like a theatrical release. I guess that's what I'm saying.
I got that vibe too. Like this was
quality. Now, don't get me wrong. There are certain scenes like the sequence when they're surfing, like that
Yeah.
for them, which looked like rotoscoped or like frame capture, was incredible. But there were other things where it just felt cheap. I don't know how else to describe it.
Well, I think, right, okay, that's interesting you bring that up, but that's kind of like the point I think they were going for, because they've gone that traditional animation route. So instead of it being kind of like twisted or elevated or overly done by computers, they were very much going the hand-drawn way. And I think it's just a little bit of, because it's 2002, you're expecting a bit more, but they're animating like they did in the 80s and the 90s. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I wonder if that's a little bit of what's kind of like.
Still, you look at something like Heavy Metal or like Fritz the Cat, like right? Or
I love how you're going from Disney to heavy metal.
Yeah, I'm just saying like that. But there's ways to do like a really unique animation style and make it look like a feature versus this, which felt like a typical cartoon you would see on television.
Well, I think around this time too, they had brought up a lot of animators who were like working on the straight to video side of the business, and I think kind of had bumped them up. Like, again, I agree with you. This feels like something that was probably at an early stage meant for like straight to video or TV or something. And then they were like, we've got nothing on the slate. What if we bumped this up and this was the next thing?
Our country's under attack.
Like,
you're living in for me.
Yeah. So I don't know. I agree with you. There's a quality to this that I also think Disney Animation was in trouble at the time, because Emperor's New Groove was chaos behind the scenes and cost a lot of money. Didn't really blow the doors off. I mean, people love it now, but like didn't really do amazing business.
Man,
I love it.
I saw that in theaters, and it was the funniest thing I'd ever seen.
Oh, I love it.
It's not to detract from like how good this movie is. It's just something I noticed in terms of the overall animation quality.
I think there was some cost cutting going on at one point until they were forced not to cut.
It's costs. No Speed Racer, but you know,
right? Okay, yeah. So no, it's interesting you guys are bringing this up. But hey, guys, I did a little bit like quick research right now as well. So it's not cost cutting. It's not that. It was a very much sort of conscious choice. So although it uses computer colored but hand drawn digital cells, all right, this was the first Disney animated feature to use watercolor painted backgrounds since Dumbo in 1941.
And the backgrounds look good. It was everything else that just.
But then also, Will, you raised an interesting point of, because we've come out of the Renaissance. Now I'm about to name some movies that some people regard quite highly, but they were using this thing called the deep canvas technique, which was using a little bit of computer and a little bit of animation, but was able to create this kind of 3D effect. Now, the first one that I saw, which I actually really like, is that 1999's Tarzan. But off the back of that, we also had Atlantis, The Lost Empire. Michael J. Fox, banger, saw that in theaters. And Treasure Planet, which I've never seen. But kind of like you were saying, is you've got sort of like a 1-2-3 punch of, all right, we've been trying this new thing. It hasn't quite been working. And they said, all right. And that's what I remember. They made a big deal of, we're going back doing it the way they did in the 40s. So it's not like it was done to be cheap. It was done in that old school way. In attempt to, because there was something of a reaction against this, I don't like this computer thing, kind of vibe.
And it works for like the charming nature of the film, for sure.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. And I could see that, especially after Treasure Planet, which, people are going to come after me because people love that movie. Woof. That is a huge swing and a miss.
Really? I've never seen it. I've always
I think it's a tremendous
Is it better than The Page Master with Macaulay Culkin?
Absolutely not. No. There's a Frankenstein book in that. Are you kidding me? A Vincent Price book. No, that movie rules. Great movie.
But what I quite enjoy about it is that once we do get to Hawaii, which doesn't take long, I was really liking how this movie, in a way, like that reminded me of Moana. Now, I know Moana is not set in Hawaii, but one thing I really enjoy about Moana is it's as Disney has, one way or other, depending on like it or not, has been like much more respectful of actual history or people
I was worried about that going into this one. It's like if you tried to make this movie now, like I feel like the entire cast, crew, voice, everyone would be like from Hawaii.
Yeah, but Jason Scott Lee and Tia Carrere, they are.
Yeah, so it's refreshing to find that out instead of Disney just kind of like whitewashing an animated film.
Like a Pocahontas situation where it's like they had one native advisor and they're like, we did it. We solved it, guys.
Yeah, whereas when it
Did you
got
know
to
John
Moana,
Smith was a good dude?
But yeah, like you're right. And then when they got to Moana, there was just so much of no, we want to make this authentic and get the
Right.
people in, and not make it sounds like Pacific Island thing.
Yeah.
It's like no, it actually is. But like this is another little touch that I think is going to start playing in this movie's favor later on in the episode. But it's like a lot of the landscapes in the movie aren't just made up landscapes. They've just recreated actual parts of Hawaii, like recognizable areas of Hawaii. And I was like, that's kind of like that thing that it could have been so easy to not bother doing.
Right.
But they did.
I told you, when I went to Hawaii, we actually went to the town of Hanapepe, it's called, which is like where this movie's like kind of set. And when this movie came out, it was such a huge hit that people, like tourists, were like flooding to this town to take pictures, and like it just became like the Lilo and Stitch town in Hawaii. And it was really cool to see. Like, you go back many years later, it's no one's really there. It's a little desolate and a little unfortunate to see it kind of like the magic's gone until they eventually remake the live action version of this.
Which is happening right now, as far as I understand.
Starring The Rock as Stitch, sure.
You beat me by 1 second. Damn it.
Oh man, sorry.
Interestingly enough, the original story when they first they said, oh, we could do a crash alien, was in Kansas, which that's flying a little too. I feel like there's another story about an alien that crash lands in Kansas.
It won't come up.
I don't know. I can't think of one.
For anybody keeping track, we're up to $500 as far as donations necessary for
Keep it coming, Achilles.
Let's do it, buddy. We can get there. So yes, all right. So to get back into the plot of the movie, and it's what I quite liked about this movie is that you've seen me before on the show. So like I did just only one page. I got just one page of notes on Lilo and Stitch because honestly, I was just watching it.
Yeah.
I was like, it's I'm like, oh, nothing to be funny about, nothing to be snarky about. It's like, no, you know what I mean?
That's
I'm
my
just
job.
like, yeah. But it's like, I again, like one of the things that one of my earliest notes is like, let's get weird. And it's that bit like right near the beginning is that like Lilo is not necessarily connecting with the girls. We've seen that like she gets into a fist fight.
I mean,
and it's like, but she's there and she's doing voodoo. You know what I mean? She's doing voodoo. She's got a voodoo book and she's building like all these little friends that like I just like that we were doing voodoo in a Disney movie. Like what? When have you seen that shit?
The Skeleton Key. It was called something else. But no, I mean that's the thing with like it's hard for me to get excited about like an animated Disney film because they all do kind of follow a very similar formula and structure, and that's okay because you know what you're going to get. And this one, like I knew all the beats, I knew where it was going to go, so it was just kind of like I just kind of watched it. And...
Wait. Handbrake, because that is the exact opposite of the very next note that I have. It's like broken family, it's not princesses or perfection. So many Disney movies,
structurally the same act structure. I mean, it kind of works the same.
No, I kind of agree, Ryan.
What? Bollocks. I mean, okay, every movie has act structure.
It's
yes.
the fucking Iron Giant. It's the same. I mean, we've seen all these movies before.
Is the Iron Giant a Disney movie, Ryan? No, it is not.
Possibly why it's better.
Yeah, because it involves nuclear war and the impending death of like.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Now we're talking.
And it's got Shooter McGavin.
Yeah. Instantly 10 points to like betterness right there. No, I agree actually. Like it's one of those, I don't think the plot structure of this movie is going to surprise you until you later learn that Ving Rhames is like, oh, well, I was actually a secret agent. I know all about Roswell, and I'm actually authorized. And
He's a man in black.
It's like we're 30 seconds from the credits. What do you mean you're bringing this up now?
They're setting up the TV show.
Yeah,
I'm
sure this came out. They probably made. I'm sure they made sequels to this. Yeah,
they did.
Had to have been. Yeah.
There was a sequel which I believe was direct to the video.
This feels like a movie that was made to like push a ton of fucking merchandise too. Look, I mean, I think all those Disney movies kind of are. That's okay.
Not just Disney movies, and fucking ever since Star Wars, every movie has been made for like, I mean, think about it. Like I brought it up before, but like a lot of people, when it comes to like Pixar movies, when they say the first one that wasn't like life-changing was Cars. Now, Cars was life-changing for me because I watched it 700 times because my son is on the spectrum and it was his favorite movie, so I watched it every single day for like 2 years. But that being said, it is also a movie that it is very rewatchable. But that movie made $4 billion in merchandise.
That's crazy.
$4 billion. So like, yeah, no, you sure, but they're making any movie nowadays.
No, I
of
get
like,
that,
what
yeah.
can we sell? What collectors can we sell? Even for like, Will, you know, you've got your grown up toys. You know, you like to buy your like the really cool stuff.
You've got all the minions, all of them.
So many minions.
Millions of them.
Millions of minions. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's Disney, so you can't really be like they're gonna merchandise the hell. It's like, yeah, of course.
Right.
So that's almost a non-factor to me. But this is one of those movies where, you know, there is the sense. I'm not sure if Disney was aware it was going to be a super huge hit, but I could tell like once it did, they were like, "Thank God we have all these characters that we can merchandise," and you know, jumped on that opportunity because I don't remember there being a ton of promotion for this movie before.
But at that time too, this was their only like slated film, right? I mean, if they were, if nothing else was working and they came out with this, especially like post 9/11, like.
Yeah, because I think the movies that were after this were like Brother Bear and Home on the Range, which who has seen Home on the Range?
Yeah, no, there was a while when they lost their way. You know, wasn't it? Especially like, you know, they had such a list. I mean, I was just the perfect age. You know, I was seeing Aladdin in theaters. I remember seeing Lion King in theaters. I remember just seeing all of these movies, and it was just like, and they are fundamentally fantastic movies. And what really pisses me off is that what Disney is now doing is just, let's do a live action adaptation of every single fucking idea you had from 25 years ago.
Yeah, let's do
And they're all hits. Yeah.
let's do new, not only a live action Little Mermaid, but let's add new songs that doesn't have, like, we can't have Howard Ashman do the music. So what a great idea that is.
Let's get Will Smith as the genie in Aladdin.
Oh my God. Let's not talk about that because I was within 30 seconds angry at that movie existing.
I think the only one of them that I've liked was the first, the Lion King remake. I watched it because I was like, this is actually good. I mean, it was good. It's not as good as the original though. It's not the animated, which I think is just...
It's hard to connect with just fully CGI.
Photorealistic.
When are they going to do the live action adaptation of Cars? That's what I want to see.
That's just Ford versus Ferrari.
They already did.
Which is one of my favorite fucking movies.
They already did, and it's called Monster Trucks.
Oh, hell you are! Oh, don't you invoke monster trucks again on this podcast? We already had to do it for.
They already did. And it's called Transformers. It'd be like this. You'd just be looking at AI or just like CGI slop, and it would just be weightless. And who fucking cares? You know.
That being said, guys, one of the coolest things that ever happened to me was when I went to Disney California Adventure and I walked around the corner and suddenly I'm in Radiator Springs and I geeked the fuck out. And then Lightning McQueen drove past. And I'm like, guys, I was like, I might have been 8 years old and it was Michael Jackson going past. I was like, I freaked out.
You just did your best Owen Wilson. Wow.
Wow. Guys, if you've never been, like I swear, if you've never been to Disney California Adventure, if you're listening and you've seen the movie Cars, it is one of the most incredible bits of like trick, like depth of field that they've got, but they've recreated it perfectly. But the fact that they have got these Disney Imagineers, I swear to God, they've created full size, like everybody from that movie, and you can take a selfie with them, you can interact with them. Blew my fucking mind.
They're real cars?
Full size cars, and they're just driving around.
Are you sure you weren't just like on mushrooms in a parking lot?
I wasn't not, but I was definitely. I've got photographs of this stuff.
Just don't do what Ollie did, and don't ask Lightning McQueen to sign your tits. Like they will kick you out.
How much do you check
he
the oil?
writes ka-chow on it, but you are banned.
I tell you guys, one of the coolest things I've ever seen in my entire life. And honestly, if you guys have Disney Plus, there is a documentary called Imagineers, which I thoroughly recommend. It's one of the most fascinating and interesting things to watch. Because it's like, oh, imagine if you're a scientist and a rocket scientist, but instead of building rockets, you just go to Disney and blow people's minds. How can I make something impossible real? That's what they do. What an incredible job. But that's why things like Disney movies and things like this, I enjoy and I support, and I love the randomness of this. I mean, one of the things that always cracks me up is that bit where like Lilo comes in and Nani, her sister's asleep, and she goes, look at this. And she starts playing a record, and then it puts like Stitch's nail down and opens his mouth, and he's got the even makes the squeaky sound, you know, like when it opens up. I'm sorry, that shit cracks me up. I love that scene. It just makes me laugh every single time.
There's a lot of funny stuff in this movie. Like, I mean, Emperor's New Groove, I think is funnier, but
Yes,
this is like pretty surprisingly funny at the time. And I didn't even remember that Stitch talked in this movie. Like, I thought my memory of it was he just spoke babbling nonsense the entire time. Oh, he has lines.
Yeah, but the bit where he goes, okay, and then just gets decked.
Yeah. It's I appreciate the humor in this movie.
Now, okay, one thing, there is a question I have for you. I wrote it down, tried to answer it, couldn't. Interested in your answer. When is this movie set?
I'm gonna say, well, it's kind of desolate. It's, you know, a lot of tourists. I'm gonna say 2025.
I will say, even when I went to Kauai, like 4 years ago, that island in particular, like, has stood still in time since like the 80s. Like, there's nothing like properly new there. Like, there's no new building. It's a very small island, and everything there was like built in the 80s, and like they just like, that's it, we're done building. So it is timeless in that sense, and it still fit that like very realistic vision of that of that island.
I agree.
Yeah, it's tough too because the guy has like kind of very 90s hair, like the surfer boyfriend kind of guy. He has very 90s hair.
It's Bruce Lee.
But yeah, but then the Ving Rhames character, because I think he said he was at Roswell and can't be more than like 40 or 50 or something. So,
and then there was also like the fire engine that came by was kind of like a Humvee fire engine. So I'm like, okay, it's just what I like about it is it doesn't necessarily lean into any sort of like
2002.
Yeah, it's exactly. It's 2002. But then also like, Will, something you were saying just a minute ago about how Stitch actually has a few lines, but one note that I really like, what I quite enjoyed is that Stitch, they do a lot of Stitch, his emotions, his reactions, his perceptions and stuff is all done silently. And it's something I was just reading about with it. Something that was particularly tricky is because of his eyes. He doesn't actually have a pupil. You know, if you notice, he's just got this black eye with kind of like the reflection on it. And I was like, I didn't even clock that until I read that earlier. And I'm like, because I was actually like, nah, man, the skill of the animator to be like almost Mr. Bean Stitch, that he's feeling things or observing things, or moments when he's having like an existential crisis of I want to destroy but can't, or when like the love is, they're making me love, you know, like, oh, my heart is getting big. I think they crushed it. I think there was some really, really great parts to that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
What do you guys think? Oh my God.
I agree. I mean, it was for that. He's one of them. I mean, they're all very interesting characters. Like, they all have a lot of depth to them, but obviously he's the linchpin, the center point of this film. And I think animating him, making all of that come to life is the biggest hurdle to make a movie like this work. You know, I don't know why they made all the humans look crazy, but that was a choice.
No, one of my early things, I love how chunky everything is.
Yeah,
like the way that the tires on the trucks and like any of the like all the vehicles feel a bit chunky, and then like, you know, the people as well. Everyone's like a bit thick, like with two C's. Love it. You know, like especially Nani, super thick. Love it. But like, I just think the movie is making choices and they're just swinging for it, and I think it's working for me.
Yeah. What I like about the movie is the kid characters, especially Lilo, act like real kids.
Yes,
like,
she was great.
It's a real fine line. This movie is kind of playing with fire, and like, you know, it's so easy to make the little rambling alien creature thing like a Snarf, like the most annoying goddamn thing on the planet.
Snarf.
Oh God, like that's the thing. Like when you were a kid, where every like cool show was like, we gotta have a stupid goblin that you're gonna hate for some reason.
But you will buy that toy.
Thundercats. You're right. Ashley.
And the girl that played Lilo was also Samara in The Ring, which I thought was
really,
she was not.
Is that why she came out of my TV at the end? Wow. Okay.
Again, that's just you on mushrooms in a parking lot.
That was just somebody legitimately asking, "Are you okay, Will?" I shouldn't have watched that tape.
You didn't recognize her voice from The Ring, where she didn't speak at all.
Right. missed that. But yeah, no, I really appreciated that the little kids, like the way Lilo throws tantrums feels very much.
It was almost like the Florida Project, like Mooney and that. It's like very real.
Yeah,
for this movie in 2002.
No, I like that. You're right, guys. It's like that's like something I didn't really put together, but like it's a very sort of like very genuine like, and that's also the genuine part was when the sisters were shouting at each other.
Yeah, like I mean, I was gonna say their relationship felt so real and grounded too. Like the first time, like, wow, they really fucking hate each other. I'm like, maybe she should fuck off to a foster family. Like, this is not a safe environment anymore.
Yeah.
But it's two people, like, so, and it's never really over explained. So we understand that, like, well, we only find out about 2/3 of the way through when she's got her picture with Stitch. Like, yeah, they went for a drive one day and it was bad weather. And you know, it's didn't say my parents died in a car crash. Yeah. It's just insinuated, but it's like, that's what I think they do very well in that scene as well. Like where they're shouting at each other, where she's trying to get back in. She's supposed to wait for the school. Now, like, it's a really funny scene where Nani is like half in the dog door talking about how she's going to murder her sister. And then it's like
pulling nails out of the.
Yeah. And the CPS guy, he pulls her out, Bubbles pulls her out. And it's going to be love. So much love. And it's just like.
I kept waiting for him to go. Yeah. I kept waiting for him to go. Ethan. I couldn't like separate. I'm like, how is Ving Rhames in this movie? It's nuts.
Well, I think you were like you were joking about it, but like, is it true that it was off Pulp Fiction? Is that like it's just
no? That
because he sounds just like he does in Pulp.
He's Marcellus Wallace. Yeah,
yeah.
I kept waiting for him to say a very untoward,
controversial line.
Let me ask you: do I look like a bitch?
But he had that same cadence. Sir. It's not like he's doing a character. He's just Ving Rhamesing it up.
He's Ving Rhamesing it.
He looks like Ving Rhames. It's just literally they put Ving Rhames.
He's got the Band-Aid on the back of his head.
I wish that'd have been so cool. I do like the whole one of the bits that really cracks me up. And I know I'm bouncing around a little bit, but I love the bit where. So basically, Stitch gets kind of like run over by 3 trucks and messes them up and ends up in like a dog shelter.
Because he's indestructible.
Indestructible, yeah. And it was like, but it's the bit where like there's no dogs around and then the camera sort of pans up and they're all freaking the fuck out. And then like the way that he sort of pretends to be a dog, he sucks his extra arms in. And
he learns real fast, like what dog do. Like he's just like by looking around observing, he's like, okay, now I know how to dog.
But then he's like using Lilo, and this isn't a Disney movie, he's using Lilo as a human shield so he doesn't get shot by the sniper rifle. I'm like, just like this movie is just bonkers. It is just my kind
for
of
like a kid's movie.
That's what I mean.
Pretty heavy subject material. Like you mentioned earlier, just the quick throwaway that her parents died in like a car accident. To have that trauma in a Disney film, it's kind of a big deal,
Yeah.
But it's informed without like being said, because more than that is that when you look around, like again, go back to that scene where Lilo's inside and she's lying on her back and she's singing and Nani's trying to get in, but it's all the extra animation around the outside is that you see the house as a state. Outside it's a mess, inside it's pots and pans and trash. It's because these are 2 girls that have been just thrown into this situation because their parents have died. The older sister is trying to parent this child and you got all this trauma on top of all of it. And it's all just slightly informed. You know what I mean? It's like, it's something that not a lot of people recognize or talk about, but they're doing it in this movie. And I think it's like something that you got to appreciate.
I do. And how much older is her older sister? Like she could be 17, she could be 25. It's like,
because Lilo is 6.
Works, right?
Yeah. And so Nani is working. So I assume that she was probably like 2021 or something like that. And it's like, but just the animation of like when, like, the bit that really got me was a Nani screaming up the stairs, like, "Hey, you too!" You know what I mean? Like she's got a fist.
Go to your room, Mama.
Exactly. It felt very real in a movie about fucking aliens.
Like for that long ago too. I mean, it was like very different for them.
I think this movie is good. I like this movie. All right.
Yeah, we gonna get into the 9/11 of it all.
Let's get
finally
into the 9/11 of it all.
what I finally wanted to talk about. Yeah.
Oh God.
So now this is something that you can find. It's quite easy to find online. So you can find the original ending of this movie. So essentially, in the movie, Ryan, when Lilo and Stitch get taken by the other big half dolphin dude, whatever he is, and they're being flown off into space.
Right.
And she's in the back. Now, that ship was originally a 747. And instead of flying through these valleys and things like that in these islands, it's flying through the middle of a major city. So it is a passenger airliner. So the bits where it's on its side, and you know how it knocks the, you know how there's that running joke about the guy with the ice cream cone? He's always dropping his ice cream. And then there's a bit where it's going down the valley and it clips off the end. Well, the original joke was he's crossing the street in the middle of like Honolulu. So there is this whole end scene, fully realized, fully animated, fully done, is the whole end of the movie is flying a passenger jet through a major, like, and dodging big buildings. So yeah, no shit. So 9/11 happens and they basically repurpose
Too soon.
Okay, no shit.
Literally.
So they are looking at these moments, and so if you do the side by side, they're taking character moments and things like that, and they've put a new skin over the top, but they had to basically the whole last 25 minutes of the movie had to be redone.
Wow.
Because it's just so on the nose.
What would the budget of this had been had they not needed to reshoot that?
$100.
Like how much more could that have? Unless they had to like really like postpone. I mean, that just seems insane. $80 million for an animated film, even like that's crazy.
Actually, I'm looking into a little bit about it now. Okay,
Zemeckis direct this fucking thing?
Okay, so after the September 11th attacks, with only a few weeks left in production, they completely reworked it using Jumba's spacecraft instead. The location was shifted to flying through Kauai, like we were saying. But even after this adjustment, the team had enough budget for 2 additional minutes of animation, which creates the epilogue montage of them becoming a new family. So actually, they were able to rework it and stick to the budget and still have money left over to create.
I never would have known had you not told me.
That was the interesting. You never would have known. You never would have known. But then you see the side by side, you're like, holy shit.
And it's actually insane because I've seen that original ending, and watching the movie as it is now, it's like, wait, why was it even a 747? Like, why did they even go
sounds
through
crazy to me. Yeah.
Like in the movie as it is now, it actually makes way more sense.
I agree. Yeah.
Like, so it's insane that was the original ending. It's like, well, thank God 9/11 happened. Otherwise, our movie wouldn't make sense.
Allegedly.
Allegedly 9/11 happened? Is that what? Here we go. This is the real podcast, guys.
I have just read something that crosses over with another one of our movies from this podcast, and I'm quite fascinated by this, and I'm almost sad that it didn't come to be.
Please be hard to take away. Please be hard to take away.
There was a scene in a hot tub. No, I'm kidding.
Oh my God.
No, this is quite interesting. It's during the film's early development. Ricardo Montalban was cast as the villain. Based, and they were using his vocal performance based off his voice from Khan Noonien Singh from Star Trek.
It's the only fucking voice he does.
Yeah, based on the voice of Ricardo Montalban.
So they recorded his lines, but the character was cut.
And
because originally I think Stitch was supposed to be like a gangster, and he was going to be part of the gang, but they ended up. So yeah,
that actually so maybe my thought of like the mad scientist becoming like he's a prisoner and then suddenly bounty hunter, that must be a relic from that, because again, they seem like 2 different characters.
Yeah, it's like he has a lot of character growth from being an imprisoned mad scientist to being, oh, he's okay, we will live on Hawaii and become family.
The choice to have him do a Russian accent is bewildering to me. Like, unless you got like, it's such like a Danny DeVito character too, like that you would expect.
I got to look it up. The guy. So I was looking up the characters.
He's a famous voice actor.
No. He's not just a famous voice actor. He's a famous he was like a dad from movies when I was growing up. Oh my God! I got to find.
It's Zelensky, the president of Ukraine. That's who did the voice. He did the voice for Paddington in Ukraine. So
Did he really?
Oh yeah.
Oh my god! Though at the same time, guys, if you're keeping we're now up to $1,500 when it comes to donations. Thank you, Achilles.
Yeah.
Achilles, you were doing
Single-handedly funding.
Achilles, you're doing the Lord's work. Achilles.
David, that's right. David Allen Ogden Steers. Oh my goodness, I knew this guy's
Run
face.
through his credits will take you forever.
Yeah, no, he does have some pretty incredible. He's in Doc Hollywood. Boom. He's the mayor from Doc Hollywood. I knew his face.
Oh.
He's the mayor from Doc Hollywood.
You recognized his face in Lilo and Stitch?
Yeah.
Yes, I recognize his face from when I Googled him.
His
But I was
face
like, I saw his face and I was like, I know
barbecue
that
guy?
guy. The guy is like, oh, you talking in the corner pocket? And he's that guy. I knew it. Oh, we got another crossover.
He's not Russian? Oh, fuck.
He's so fake.
He was born in
What are we even doing here?
Moscow. He was born in Moscow. But that being said, all right, outside of all of that, did you guys like the movie?
Yeah, no, I appreciated the chance to rewatch it now as an adult and really enjoy it, as opposed to my angsty teenage self, which is like, this is a Dragon Ball Z. What do I care about this?
Yeah, right. You too, buddy.
I'm a tough one. I mean, I'm not the audience for this. Like, I don't go out of my way to watch these, like, to watch Disney films anymore. So it really did nothing for me. I can appreciate it for what it is. And if you love Disney movies, chances are you've seen this a billion times. But
It didn't even grow your little Grinch heart, just 2 sizes this day.
never. I will never. No, I mean, I watched it. I knew how I was gonna, and I really tried to like be subjective and take my emotion out of it and just watch the movie. But I don't know. I watched it and I was like, yeah. It's
Would you recommend it to our listeners?
Chances are you've already seen this fucking movie, unless you're a monster like me. But sure, yeah.
You say that, yet you're the only one of us in the podcast that's been to the location where they shot it.
Yeah, and I was miserable.
Though at the same time, you did send us a picture of the location, but you cut everybody else out of the picture.
For sure.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, you're still dark on the inside.
Much like the trauma Lilo embraces in this movie, I had a very similar trauma on my experience.
Well, okay, if you want to talk trauma, then let's talk about our other movie.
Finally,
let's jump over to 2009's A Perfect Getaway. Now, so like let's
2009 is insane. Like,
yeah.
What?
So yeah, if you had said 1998, I'd be like, oh, this isn't bad.
What are we doing? I've completely thought like. Sorry, go ahead, Ollie. I'm so sorry.
No. Dude, all I was going to say is let's jump over from an $80 million movie that made $273 million to a movie that cost $14 million and made $22 million. I want to see $14 million. I'm actually surprised that the budget was only $14 million.
That's
I'm
pretty
actually
nuts.
Yeah, considering what this movie is. But guys, who had seen this movie before? Like Ryan, you said you thought you'd seen it
Forever ago.
I thought I had seen this movie, and it took until about 30 minutes in when I realized why I knew all about this movie. I knew who was in it. I knew a little bit about what was going on, but I didn't know what happened. Is because a big part of this movie is they are using a Sony Handycam. And back in the day, in 2009, I was hosting a show called Sony Style. So I was hosting a Sony show on television, international TV based in Asia. And what we would do is when there was a movie that like a Sony movie, or when Sony had a part of it, or they had inserted all of the tech that I was always talking about on my show, I would talk about the movie. So I remember promoting this movie in 2009, selling this movie, doing voiceovers and cutting and all this kind of stuff. But I realized today I'd never actually seen it. I'd only seen
And you were selling it to people?
Yeah. Oh, mate, you'd be amazed how much
Wow. So some of that $22 million is because of you. Like, that's you driving those sales.
At least $22 of it, at least.
I had misremembered most of this movie because I was confusing it with the movie Teresa's, which I don't know if they came out around the same time, but there was like this like string of mid-tier budget kind of like suspense thrillers that were vacation themed.
Teresa's 2006.
Okay, and this was 2009.
9. Oh, but here you go. You're gonna like this
because know.
The star of Teresa's in 2006 is Josh Duhamel.
Yes.
Oh my god.
That's why I was confused.
Oh my god.
Otherwise, yeah, like to the point, like you even sent something around about how Timothy Oliphant's mother even confuses him.
We were talking about it on the text thread, and on my YouTube Shorts, it popped up. Timothy Oliphant was being interviewed, I think, on Conan O'Brien, and he just goes through this whole thing. So even his family is confused about who's who.
And I have said this on the show before, but my show Sony Style, back in 2008, when I was a younger, skinnier guy with like short black hair, back to back with Josh Jamel's show Las Vegas, and they would promote us next to each other. So I always got told I look like Josh Jamel as well. So now we have hit, I think, the full 6 degrees of Timothy Oliphant.
Oh my god! I said it's a real Dylan McDermott Mulroney situation.
Exactly.
Yes.
There was a Reddit thread of like, oh, they're remaking Face Off. Who would you cast? And I just wrote Josh Duhamel and Timothy Oliphant.
Wouldn't even have to switch faces.
Crushed. Yeah. No. Just slightly different makeup, I think. But in this case, like, Turistas is one of those, like, it's more of a horror movie, right? It's more like, whereas this definitely falls into sort of like the thriller, like, territory.
Is Turistas the one where they go, it's in like Mexico, and there's like something with the plants? Or is that another?
On Bus Crash, they're in Brazil. No, Bus Crash, Brazil, Portuguese, drugged drinks, pass out, deserted beach.
Different. See, there's a third movie where they're in like the Mayan temple or something like that, and they can't get off of it because the plants kill you or some shit.
What, bro? You watch some weird movies, and we need to start watching some of these weird movies because this sounds good.
I think you're thinking of The Happening. That's what you're.
No.
The plants are getting us, guys.
Be scientific, douchebag.
Hold on, let me see if I can find this. Talk amongst yourselves. I'm gonna see if I can, because this is gonna bother me for the rest of the podcast if I don't figure out what it is.
Yeah, this is an interesting flick, it's not interesting. It attempts to be interesting. It's interesting how uninteresting it came out.
Well, I love, I've read some of your scripts. You're a good writer.
The Ruins.
The Ruins. So, like, the Perfect Getaway is a movie where, like I was saying at the beginning, is that David Twohy couldn't get out of his own way. Mm-hmm. And it's like, and it's such a shame. Now, I've seen, like I said, there's some Twohy movies that I've actually quite enjoyed. I'm a bit of a defender of the Chronicles of Riddick. I go, you know what? Fuck it. It's sci-fi. I like it. It's big. You built a world. I'm up for it. The character's cool. He fits into it. Yes, sign me up. Judi Dench, cool. I'm like, it's just
Carl Urban.
Yeah. Well, only because my missus loves Carl Urban. But like in this movie, it's got a good concept.
Yeah, that's a great concept, especially for that time.
It's a good concept. They've got a good cast. They play it pretty well, but he just couldn't resist having a character going, that'll make a great second act twist. Wouldn't it be ironic if this was a red herring right now? And it's just like,
he calls it like a red snapper or something.
A red snapper, which was funny. I'll give the red snapper thing, but it's like it because he was being so heavy-handed with the aren't I being so clever, it ruined the reveal. Because I figured out the reveal real quick.
Yeah.
You know, and I was like, I feel like with a lighter touch, without so much like, I'm going to feel so smart when you rewatch this movie.
You're right, because he does, like, in the first, like, half of this film, he really does a good job, like, building up the tension for it. And then you get to this fucking 45-minute flashback, and I wanted to kill myself.
All right, well, we'll get to that. Sorry, we'll definitely get to that flashback. But it was like
I saw the beach, and I'm just going to use that whole kind of
yeah, right. No, my first note is like, okay, we cover a lot of ground in just the credits, because in the credits we're getting this video from the wedding, but we're also getting to Hawaii, and like we're almost like we're in the rental car by the time like the credits sort of end. But one thing, like my fourth note. So like I said, I went in this kind of like blind or realized it, but like I very much noticed very specifically we don't see any faces in the wedding video. I noticed how we never see the bride or groom. We see that someone's got like the groom's got like wedding cake in his face. The bride is going to throw the bouquet, and you never see like she turns her face the other way.
I thought I didn't clock that because I thought I was like, I thought I'd heard Steve Zahn's voice as the groom. Or
you
something
did.
like that.
because that's what I remember that too. Because it's
with his brother, right?
When he's getting noogied.
Yeah.
Sounded like Steve Zahn's voice.
Was he just at the wedding?
Maybe he's recording voiceover after the fact or something. Because you're right, that doesn't make sense. That is everything that when you do rewatch it, okay, because we all spotted that.
Yeah.
You know, but it doesn't make sense.
And I think just retroactively, it just in my head, I had put Mila Jovovich and Steve Zahn in because I knew they were in this movie. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't really, and also this movie's not that interesting. So I also was just not really paying that close attention. It wasn't until like the reveal happened where I was like, oh yeah, I guess we didn't see their face.
He does I was wondering like, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say, so instead of it playing like I was kind of like, oh yeah. You know,
okay.
So that was
actually. I'm going to pause real quickly to everybody listening or watching. Like, it's not like a mind-blowing movie. It's not going to win any Oscars. It is a good thing, but from this point on, we are going to spoil this movie. All right, The movie is about to get spoiled. All right, from everything else that we're going to say, because now I say it. When I said it makes no sense that we heard the voice in that annoying flashback, we did actually get a scene where he's practicing the voice. He's listening to the video. And he's doing the voice as guys, as lazy as I think it was, they did actually do it. So I'm gonna like, okay. Technically,
you're positing that they re-recorded voice.
No. What I'm saying is Steve Zahn is putting on a voice.
Oh, he's mimicking the voice from the video.
They're listening to the video. Remember, there's that clip where they're listening to the video and he's like saying the things and not just picking up the things.
Well, what dumb luck! The guy he's mimicking sounds exactly like Steve Zahn.
But
yeah, who would have fucking thought? But I was going to say, like, sorry, go ahead.
No, go. We keep derailing you.
I did appreciate, like, again, like the tension building up to this. I liked the fact, like, casting Steve Zahn in this, famously from like Saving Silverman. Like, I thought he was playing like a played that very meek kind of character type against Timothy Olyphants. Really well.
No, that's what I'm saying is there are certain things.
Mila Jovovich, on the other hand, I was like, you can't. I'm like, there's no way. She's such a fucking badass. Like, you just know she's perfect.
Right. It's when they cast like Sarah Michelle Gellar as like, oh, I'm the helpless lady. You're like, no, that's Buffy. like stop trying to fool me.
But no, agreeing with what you're saying is that's what I'm saying is that I feel there are things this movie did well. Like the Steve Zahn casting is brilliant because you derail us and then you give us Chris Hemsworth, but you hide his face kind of thing.
That was great.
This is before we really know Hemsworth. Like, Will, I think you were saying it's right after his like bit part in Star Trek. It's right before he's doing Thor. It's around the time Thor's coming out. And so, you know, so you've got this super fucking cut, handsome guy that's kind of creepy and they give him the right creepy. And then Timothy Olyphant us and he rocks up and he's ripped as well. And he's a bit weird. And they sort of disguise like Timothy Zahn, he's like, you know, he's just a little meek and he's got his hat and he's got his glasses and it's only in that like last third.
The little flip up glasses too.
Right. And then he takes his like his long sleeves off and you realize Steve Zahn's ripped as well. Yeah. You know what I mean? But like it's a clever sort of way of that they just, because we've seen Steve Zahn and stuff and he's like, hey, okay guys, you know, like he honestly elevates any movie he's in. I think Steve Zahn is an absolute gem. I love him in everything.
Again, Saving Silverman, it's a treasure.
But in this case, I think it was a great bit of casting that does throw you off the scent. Yeah. And just, I'm going to come back and say it a million times. Every time I'm thrown off the scent, they then throw scent in my face with a big fucking arrow. And I'm like, why? Why are you doing this to us?
They do it in such a way where it's like even as I was watching, I'm like, there's only a couple like reveals this could possibly. We only have like 6 characters, so I'm like, I don't know if we've actually said this movie is about. Did we say this is about a group of like 2 serial killers who are like killing like couples and stuff?
Yeah, so
on a different island. Yeah,
on a different island. Yeah. And
it's a couple on their honeymoon, and there's a bunch of murderers around, and it becomes a who's the murderer kind of thing with 3 couples.
Yeah, so Chris Hemsworth and his hippie girlfriend, they're like one suspect couple. Timothy Olyphantastic shows up, and you're like, oh, him and Nikki from Lost, they're the other potential cut. And they know how to like kill boars or goats and stuff, and you know it. But you're watching it, and you're like, okay, well, there's only like a couple options. It is not Olyphantastic because it's so obvious. So I'm like, I know it's not him. Chris Hemsworth is like in 30 seconds of this movie, so you're like, okay, it's probably not him either.
Yeah.
I only have like one option left, movie. Like, come on.
I mean, no, you're not wrong, Will. You're not wrong. But they do, I will give them, like I said, they do set up by the way they've cast them and the way they've shot them. And it's like, and we're just, I assume we're the protagonist. You are just looking at them through suspicious eyes. And I will give credit that as I'd figured it out and I'm watching, I go, all right, you realize that when they're talking about game face or when they're talking about let's just get through this, they're talking about how they're going to murder them later instead of like how to survive. I'll give them credit. I'll give them credit.
So poorly.
It's so heavy-handed. It's just so.
Yeah. And then when you finally do get that reveal, they go on the kayak thing. He poisons his little tequila bottle. He notices the scorpion is different, right?
Yeah. Someone explain that to me. Someone explain that to me.
He was drinking tequila.
Did he get poisoned? Because did he put crystal meth in it? Because I assumed that, but you don't see that in the movie. And he's looking at the fucking.
I don't know if you can drink crystal meth.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, right?
I tried.
And, but like you're right, but like with the little fucking thingamabob,
it's like a scorpion. Yeah.
Well, it's already dead anyway, mate. It's like he looks at it and has a realization, and I don't know what that realization.
I think he realized because there's a scene where he has that before, and he's talking.
Is it drowned or is it dead already?
Right, but I think he noticed maybe that Steve Zahn had like. The color of the scorpion was different. Like in the bottle he had, it was black, and this one's red.
I don't think
doesn't
it's
matter.
I don't think it's that. I think it is literally he's just looking at it and realizes that it's trapped. In this bottle.
Is that what it was?
Oh, it's trapped, and they kill it that way. I'm trapped because Steve Zahn is blocking this.
It's the one.
I think it's that.
Yeah, I'm kind of
very unclear, but that's.
I think that's what we're supposed to, because I assumed he'd been drugged, and then we cut to him getting crystal meth. Nah, we're just smoking it. It's like, because I was expecting some poisoning, because he has that moment of realization.
I think he did poison him because Steve Zahn's character knows how capable Timothy Olyphant is.
Okay,
so
well, hang on. Well, I can then counteract that, because he's drugging him with crystal meth. Crystal meth is the super thing that makes...
we don't know. He could be drugging him with anything.
But it's like, but that's what makes Steve Zahn and Milla Jovovich in the end, they're like super, because they're fucking on crystal meth.
That's why I think
they feel no pain. There's bits where she's punching the rocks and feels nothing, you know what I mean? But like, well, my thing, the most frustrating note I have about this is halfway through the movie, I go, we might as well just call this movie foreshadowing. Because it can't get out, like... The literal quotes from the movie that I've got, there's lots of twists and turns ahead. He's really hard to kill. That sounds like a great second act twist. I'm like, literally, I was like, it's like this movie is trying to be meta without being meta.
Yeah. And literally, this didn't even click with me until today because it's that stupid. But I was thinking about it this morning, and I was thinking about where he's looking at the pictures of Chris Hemsworth and his girlfriend, and he's like, oh, perfect for framing.
Perfect
and this morning,
for framing.
It clicked. I'm like, because they framed them. Shut up. Like David Twohy, I want my $20 I didn't pay.
Oh, no, I could tell you were definitely on your phone by this point, because he does actually, because it's heavy-handed, he plays it again, and he literally looks, and he goes, perfect for framing, and then it shows him putting the teeth in, and just like, that's what I mean, is this was a good idea. David Twohy, it was a good idea. I liked it. You could have just, for 5 seconds, stopped trying to feel so clever with what you were doing, and given us a 5-minute flashback.
He wrote this movie too.
Yes, and that's what I mean. It's the writing, directing. He had no one telling him no, and it's like, because guys, we all talked about it. Let's jump into it. There is a 30-minute, 20-minute,
at least
black and blue and black fucking flashback. So
once you get to the
reveal, fills in
there,
everything.
The guys are in kayaks in like a cenote
cave,
or something. Right.
Yeah.
And Milla Jovovich is
on the beach.
Sure.
The other girls figured it out.
The other girls figured it out, and she's screaming to him. She's calling his phone. He's like, "Yeah, we'll be back." And he does the military.
Sunset.
Yeah. Super cool. Let's be real.
Yeah. No. Honestly, I had the hot.
She turns into a fucking superhero, bolts across the beach, rappels up the thing, gets to the top just to find like his kayak flipped over and blood everywhere, and then it cuts to this like insane flashback sequence.
I think the flashback happens the moment that OnlyFans gets
drops
shot.
he
gets shot.
Yeah.
Right. And then we cut. And then it gives us too much.
It's
You could have been done in 5 minutes.
I was fucking shocked with how long this went on for. I thought it was a joke.
And it really, honestly, by the point, because it was going on so long, I actually got irritated by the whole black and white thing.
It was terrible.
And it's like, I can't tell it's a flashback, guys. And like, Christopher Nolan can do it. You can't.
But it was like black and white. It was so blown out. It was almost like this dream sequence. But how else would you know it's a flashback?
It was the most 2000s movie thing I've ever seen in my life.
It reminded me of The Beach, like Danny Boyle's.
Literally. So if you love that movie, here you go.
This is what I mean. This movie pissed me off because I just saw what it could have been. And it's it's actually quite a fun watch. All right.
It's fine.
It's fine. You're going to have a good time. And it's got like a 60 something from audience review. It's like 47 from critics. But I'm like, I agree with that. I agree with the critics. I agree with the audience. There's bits that I enjoy, but I know this movie could have been great.
It is a cool idea that does nothing new.
No.
Yeah.
It's so frustrating.
I was texting you guys, like, as I was watching it, there was one part where I was like, oh, this would be an interesting movie where Hemsworth and Oliphant, like,
you're halfway through the movie and you're texting shit and I go, oh.
Yeah. They just make out.
The scene of them two at the river, like, shirts off, just having like a fucking ab off.
Yeah. It's that cool moment of like, you get the feeling like if this is a movie about two psychos who spot each other and they're like, oh, you're crazy, I'm crazy, how
like
is
they're
this
both vying to kill Steve Zahn.
Like that part I was like,
spy versus spy, that's cool.
Like, but the movie is like, no, we're not doing that. That would be interesting. We're gonna do this other stupid thing. Like, all right.
And it could have held it instead of doing 20 minutes of back, we could have held it 15 minutes longer and then given us
it's another movie that thinks so less of its audience that it has to do this for you. Like the audience is too dumb to get this.
I talk about this all the time. Is that even in television, even in social media, we're doing what I'm doing as well. Is just treating people like they're idiots. And it's like, I know that the group of humanity together sometimes are dumb, but in this case, you could have just given a bit of credit to the people watching and given us like a instead of a
That's why our audience
saw that shit
all
coming.
Geniuses, all geniuses.
There was both
of them.
Maybe because I was
Will and I.
Maybe because I was so disinterested by this point. But I had when she's Nikki from Lost, when she's looking at the video camera and like looking through the photos.
You mean the Sony video camera with this 3.2-inch extra fine blood screen?
She pushes in the memory card.
Yes,
to reveal it,
which lets you know that it has an SD card. That's what I mean. As someone that had to do Sony products, the amount of things I'm watching, oh my god, the way they had to hold it because I had to hold it, and the way you had to show it was just like Sony goes, you have to use. We'll give you $20 million if you use this camera.
Yeah, clearly Steve Zahn's character should have been watching your show because they throw away the tape, but not the SD card, and I'm like,
rookie mistake.
Okay, but then also the way she reacts in this movie, what this movie is missing is a detective, is a Benoit Blanc or somebody like that. This movie is missing that because she goes through the photos, notices it's not Steve Zahn and Mila Jovovich, and is instantly in panic mode, like, these are the killers. And I'm like, I don't think realistically you would get there that fast.
She already suspect them though, and then went. Well,
the joke has been they've been suspecting each other, and then the framing, which we spelled out literally, of Chris Hemsworth happens, and I think I'm okay. I get what you're saying, Will. I'm going to say I was okay with it. What I quite liked is that the fun part for me was when they paint in the movie that OnlyFans and Nikki are the bad guys. Is all they actually are is country folk. Because I live in Texas and around all these people who do this. I mean, I'm literally in like 2 weeks going to a hog killing. There's going to be a 600-pound pig and we're going to it's going to get prepped and we're going to cook it. It's going to go all day. And so it's actually cracking me up to say, these are just, all they are is country folk.
I'm just now remembering, not only do you get the flashback from the perspective of Steve Zahn and Mila Jovovich character, you also get the flashback.
Yes.
in the same flashback. from them.
That's right.
Their whole little him buying the ring, or her
And that
going to
doesn't
the
make
jewelry
any
store. I'm
sense with the black and white choice because it's a
No.
different flashback. Oh my god, guys! I didn't
it's
even
not
clock
like their
that.
paths even cross because they're already on the ferry. They get there a little bit late. I get that it sets up the timeline for the film, but Jesus fucking Christ, I'm like,
Now
two
I-
flashbacks smashed together.
Now I hate the movie.
Yeah.
No, you're right. No, that's a
It's
terrible
just-
choice.
That's
That
why I was
doesn't
like,
make
why
any
is this
sense.
Goes on for so long. I mean, I get you need that backstory to reveal that no. It's like these are the bad guys. These guys are okay. They just happen to kind of be on the same.
And it's to set up the proposal at the end, but it's such a clunky way to do it. And also, that ending feels like it must have been reshot because what happens
Agreed.
to Mila Jovovich?
What happens to Mila Jovovich? Yes,
Like-
it feels like they. Honestly, my last note, my very very last.
I was
note
wondering
is,
that too. I'm like, I just watched this movie. I'm fucking.
I had my money from once all the twist happens and it's all going. I was like, oh man, Steve Zahn and Mila Jovovich are going to win and they're going to assume another identity. That's the end. I think I would put money. That's what they did, and they
had to have
and
been.
the
Studio was
and the
like,
studio
absolutely
said
not.
we need a happy ending.
Yeah.
And the thing is, the biggest giveaway, and I was very confused because I knew this was a Steve Zahn Mila Jovovich movie. Movie starts. What's the first name in the credits? It's Timothy Olyphants. It was just like it's
Josh
this-
Duhamel.
but it's like, you know, it's only like at the end I was like, oh shit, okay, so the protagonists are like the people that we got in the middle, but it never really felt that way. But I honestly, the way that movie, everything about that movie, everything about those characters and the momentum of that movie, in the last 5 minutes the bad guys were going to win. And the fact that they don't, and then we get the proposal and the sun setting and like
It would have been a better film. I
it
think.
would
Like,
have been a better movie.
Yeah.
But again, like, nope, the audience is too dumb. They're not going to get it.
Yeah, they're not
Can't
going to
have
go watch
that.
this movie. No, so
Yeah.
Nobody
so, yeah.
likes Seven. Nobody wants that.
Right. Yeah.
But you're right, because Will, it's that bit where she's, you know, it's the
Wait, you mean the
sniper
bit
is
in the helicopter, and he's like, "Which one do I shoot?" And
Yes.
she's like, that one."
the guy from Mindhunters, the guy from
Yeah.
Fight Club in a
Yes.
bit part, but he's like, which do we shoot? And I think that is Will. I put $1 million. That's where they go. We got to reshoot the last 5 minutes because
Yeah.
that's where Timothy Olyphants gets shot.
I honestly-
the girlfriend takes the bullet as well. Steve Zahn is like, oh my god, thanks for rescuing us, and they go off, and it's like, oh, the dark ending.
As he's hitting meth, he's like,
yeah.
Yeah.
That's what the movie should have been, and honestly, it would have been even better. Though I did enjoy the ending. Like it's just as in the stupid audience member by the end of this and all the adventure we gone, I'm like, okay, well, fine. I'm glad that they died. Fine, I'm a sucker, but it still
Yeah.
would have been better if they'd lost. You know?
Yeah, but I mean, at that point, you know, because this movie also has the trope of like characters doing stupid things. Like Nikki from Lost, at one point, she stabs Steve Zahn in the hand
And
with
then
the knife, and then just like throws it away.
well,
like,
she
leaves it fucking-
sticks him to the thing.
yeah,
so he's
and then
gotta-
I'm just like, keep stabbing him in the
yeah,
face.
maybe
Like,
stab him again and then kick him in the face and you win.
yeah, like what are you doing? Lady?
But
Like,
actually, 5 minutes before that, Will, 5 minutes before that, after the entire movie that we have been trekking, no one's cell phone works. Her cell phone works, and she gets, and it's funny, but she gets a, do you want to update your AT&T Indian?
that was
Okay.
problematic.
Now, problematic as it is, wouldn't it not have been simpler, okay, to hang up on the Indian caller and dial 911?
I was trying to understand that.
A
I'm like,
4 minute conversation goes, I'm on the island of Kauai. I'm in Hawaii. There's these people trying to murder us. Make sure you've got to call them.
That was
Yes,
so
it's
dumb.
and I'm like,
I hated that.
no, 911. So yeah, in that space
and
of
it's
3
like
minutes,
played for comedy. Ugh.
is it? Because I
know.
didn't fucking laugh. I was pretty
No,
pissed off.
I mean, I guess I don't know. Again, studio note maybe. I just, yeah, I that was a choice.
This is
there
kind
were
of
so
what I
many
mean.
choices
That's
in this movie.
choices.
It's like,
Another note I've got. I get it because I said the same thing. Is wow, this flashback scene is a choice. And then I went to the text thread that I'd not read, and you said the exact same fucking thing, like word for word. And I'm like, that's what I mean. Is that
it was honestly baffling to see how long it was. I maybe clocked it at 30 minutes. It could have been the entire
I think
third
it
act of the
felt
film.
like 30 minutes. I think it
It
was
was
only about
so
15 or
long.
so.
You have so much because you have them getting together, the wedding thing, their murders, them killing the couple outside of a cruise ship,
Pulling the teeth.
cutting the slow motion shots of the fingerprints and
Yeah,
teeth and
the
stuff.
trying to
going
get
on
the
there.
ring.
Okay.
It's just
I'm in the hotel room. It's like it's so over stylized, and it's just not good.
I also didn't understand, like, well, they're not, I understand them taking the identities of this couple, but they're on vacation in Hawaii. They're not with anybody they've ever met before. Well, why are they doing the voice like of like the people?
Yeah.
Like, why they're not planning on showing anybody the honeymoon footage because that gives it away.
I think they just lean into like becoming these people. That's kind of their whole MO. He goes through this whole spiel. It's like he's like gonna live forever because they keep doing this. That's kind of their whole thing.
Something. It kind of reminded me of, like, if you saw the trailer for that what's that Marky Mark movie that's coming out? Flight Risk, where it's like he's got like the hat on and he's like, oh, well, you guys need a pilot, we're gonna fly somewhere, and then
Terrible.
And then the reveal is they knock off the hat and he's bald, and it's like he's the assassin. And I'm just like, you've never met. Why are you wearing a fake hairpiece?
Well, they also
like,
find his like ID badge and all the other stuff, but it doesn't matter.
But that at that point, I'm just like, but again, they've never met you. Like, what are you? What I don't know. That
I will say
like that where it drives me crazy.
Well, like, so I will say, like, so
save it for our airplane episode.
Like, I will say, Milla Jovovich did a pretty good job. It was the bit like, so it was, as I was like, we're about, I don't know, 30 minutes into the movie, and I realized that, outside of all the like the foreshadowing moments, because they're still playing us that OnlyFans is the bad guy or Hemsworth is the bad guy kind of thing, and it was the little bit where the ladies are talking and Jovovich tells the story about how she's honestly how she was getting fingered by the like whatever the fuck, but she's
very detailed.
She's acting the fuck out of that scene, and that's when I wrote, like I said, the dog hanging story is the only true thing she said, and that's when I put like it all together.
Yeah.
But it was like, and it does tie into that stupid fucking ending, but I will, again, like I said, I want it. There's moments in this movie, credit. I'm going to give you credit. And then you do something stupid. And I've got to take that credit away. Oh, you do something. Oh, good credit. And like, another bit was like the weird editing choices when it came to the last act. Sometimes with like, we're getting very Tony Scott in his later years of getting a bit too frenetic.
Running side. Yes.
That's them on meth. Like, capture that feeling, right?
Right. And then, it's just, it's one of these movies where I'm like, if I'd made this movie, I'd be like proud of it. If I wrote it, I'd be proud of it. But I'd also watch it and I'd be frustrated by it.
She climbs down the rope thing, and there's just happens to be a nurse and another guy there.
And there's four guys, and it's the most frustrating part of the entire movie. Yeah.
The movie is suddenly like, oh, we need a higher body count.
And he's like, my wife, listen, she smokes a little bit of meth. It's not crazy. And he's like, really? Because her eyes aren't dilated, but yours aren't.
That's what I was glad about. And I'm like, because I'm watching this going,
finally not a dumb person. Yeah.
Look at his fucking eyes. What are you talking about? And these four guys are not listening to the woman going, this guy's trying to kill me.
He's running around going, come in yeah. It's a Saving Silverman reference.
But the fact, that was a very a good and very frustrating part of the
dashed
movie.
Immediately. Right. Like you're saying, glimpses of like a good thing. Just, nope. Don't get used to that.
No, this genuinely, like, I would say watch it. I'd say you'd enjoy it. I know we spoiled it. But I really feel like there could have been like a movie we would have been like, really enjoying.
It's weird. It's also weird seeing Milla Jovovich in like not in a Paul W.S. Anderson film.
Yeah.
Even though this really does feel like a Paul W.S. Anderson film.
Yeah, shocking that this isn't one of his, but
I will say, to segue into the Hawaii of it all, there was times where I'm like, are they green screening this? Are they like there were moments like so not so there were moments that just didn't feel like Hawaii, and then we get into it and it turns out it's Hawaii, it's Puerto Rico, it's Jamaica, it's kind of all kinds of other things. But I was kind of like there was moments that I was like, because we've seen so many movies. Like, I mean, I'm looking at the Jurassic Park of it all,
a lot of the establishing stuff, like the waterfalls, did very much look like Kauai. Like when I took that helicopter tour of like you're saying the Jurassic Park, like it's a very familiar thing to see. So maybe they did that, like shot some of that in helicopters, and then the rest they shot.
It's that classic of that, just give the establishing shots of the things that we know, and then you just put a bunch of greenery in the background or a bunch of
when he's like
ocean.
hanging out the helicopter, like, oh, take a picture of me.
Well, yeah, I mean, yes, but what I mean is, I was surprised to find out that they didn't shoot the whole movie in Hawaii.
Yeah,
That was for me was like, wait a minute, we should went to Puerto Rico and Jamaica and Hawaii.
it looks like a fucking well,
For a $16 million movie, I mean,
Yeah.
would have, like the fact that we went to 3 different places is bonkers to me.
That's crazy, yeah. But also shooting in some of these locations seems, well, you've said you've shot like similar stuff before. It seems like fucking insane to schlep this up to the jungle overlooking this thing.
Oh, I would have been miserable shooting this. Yeah, this you know, there were definitely times where like people were like kind of going across like rocky ridges and stuff where I'm like, oh, the actors have to do that, and that's gotta suck.
Yeah.
Like, you know, that's always
That
kinda
was
like,
probably built where they're traversing the thing, like
Oh yeah, no, that was definitely.
I know what you're saying. Like when they're on the beach walking up the thing, like just getting that audio. God, it's just
I read the like almost the entire movie is ADR.
Yeah,
because I was like, there's just no way they're getting audio on the day. That would be impossible.
His
Yeah,
Chris
you just-
Hemsworth voice really, he sounds like Elmo.
But yeah, no, you're not. It's 100% because it's going to be insects. It's going to be wind. It's going to be everything. It's just like you're never going to get it. Honestly, they did.
I didn't even notice. Like
I'm going to say the same thing.
Yeah.
They did a very good job. They did a very good job, and I think that's like I said. I've only said it a million times that I'm just so frustrated.
I wanted to like this movie so much.
I wanted. It's yeah. I agree. So, but that is not what we talk about here. It's not what about's the best movie. It's not what about's the most entertaining movie. It's which is the movie that hits Hawaii the best. Now, the last time we went around in season 1, we ended up with Forgetting Sarah Marshall. Now, Forgetting Sarah Marshall was entirely shot, well, I mean, apart from a couple of scenes at the beginning, in Hawaii. They did a very good job about getting us Hawaii, but we were somewhat kind of bothered about the fact that we're also getting the tourist Hawaii. We got a little bit of, when we interacted with some of the staff that worked at the hotel, but very much we're kind of looking through the eyes of some white guy and his girlfriend and Russell Brand before he got completely insane. So what we have here are 2 movies that are very, very Hawaii. Now, one is the tourist angle, but I will say it's just kind of like it actually leans into kind of these people being a little bit out of their depth, which I quite like. Hawaii, in a way, is almost like a challenge to them. And then we've got the space alien.
Getaway.
Every time you get me with that, it's like as a joke. It works every time. But it's like, yeah, we've got the space alien animated movie that, when it comes down to it, does like get very Hawaii. And the bit that really, like, for me was that they're animating real parts of Hawaii or drawing real parts.
And there's more culture too. Like you get that the dance sequence in the very beginning, like.
Yes, and I was reading. So I was reading that when it came to them dancing the hula, is that they actually went and they shot like a classic sort of Disney thing, but they shot reference footage. So they're not rotoscoping it,
right? They're
not animating over the top of it, but they're like, that's something. Again, when I'm watching it, the bit where he's doing the fire dancing stuff as well, like I was like, oh man, that's some pretty great animation. So they leaned into the Hawaii.
I wish there was just like a little bit more of that, like more of the culture in this, but I feel like
Moana style.
I guess I've never seen it.
You've never seen Moana?
I told you I don't watch
he's only
these
seen
movies.
he's only seen Moana 2.
Bro,
Moana.
Moana is great.
I've seen Moesha.
Oh,
Same thing.
Yeah,
Same thing. You got
but
it.
no, I am saying right now, Moana is good. Moana is good.
I'll never watch it unless it's picked for this podcast.
Jermaine Clement.
Ooh,
great.
Hang on.
Yeah, he does. He's got a song. Lin-Manuel Miranda, like, doing a lot of the music. No, it is funny. It is beautiful. And a great way to know it's a good movie is my son likes it. Because, like, he only likes 3 movies ever made. And it's like Cars, The Goonies, and Moana.
To this day. Boy, are you guys excited for Gremlins 3 and the Goonies reboot? Let's fucking talk about it.
You know what?
I'm sorry, what?
Only one of them is entirely CGI. No, I think they announced they're making a Goonies sequel and a Gremlins threequel.
They've announced the Goonies sequel like 800 times. Like, who? No.
Look, if Goonies 3 is not It's not Goonies. Gremlins 3 is not even more
They
meta than the
skipped
second
two.
one. No,
That'd be hilarious.
Gremlins, because Gremlins 2, I love it, is so bonkers.
They're gonna do the Gremlins cubed like Alien 3.
Yeah, but you can't go back to being a horror movie. You've got to like lean into the fact that Gremlins are making a movie about Gremlins or something like that, or it's a behind-the-scenes documentary of the making of Gremlins 3, but Gremlins become real. That's
It's
the
got to
only
be
way.
Gremlins take over the studio and decide that every movie has got to be Gremlins.
See,
Hear me
okay.
out. What if it's Jordan Peele's Gremlins?
Oh, see, there we go. That's
Gremlins Origins, Gremlins Legacy, Gremlins in Louise.
you got a script. It's a Gremlin. It's in the movie.
It's in the movie. No, okay, fine. Now we've launched our new podcast,
Wild
The
segue.
Gremlins.
Our
But,
new
like,
podcast. Everything is Gremlins. Yeah.
Oops,
I'm
all
gonna-
Gremlins.
I'm gonna try and pull this back in. I'm gonna try and get this podcast back on. But no, seriously, guys, it's like now I'm just thinking about Gremlins 3. No, is I feel like a very, very strong contender is Lilo and Stitch.
Oh, for sure.
I think
agree.
that like because of, and I honestly I need to go back and listen to our first episode when we were talking about it. But it's like, is that because Hard Ticket to Hawaii is bonkers and silly and fun, and like I can't even remember the third movie we did from Hawaii. What was it? I'll give you $1 million if you guys can either of you get it. I'm gonna have to Google it.
Oh my God.
There was a third movie?
This is always the problem with our podcast. Is I can always remember two.
If we're at most.
ever.
At most.
Yeah, but never three.
And it's never the winner either.
No.
Hard Ticket to Hawaii,
Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
Forgetting Sarah Marshall. And...
Did we watch the Emma Stone as an Asian?
No.
Damn it! What is the movie?
Hold on, I'm looking it up.
Yeah,
Trying to do a game.
Who can get there first? Who can find our podcast?
Oh my God, it's Ali's favorite fucking movie too.
Oh, it's Battleship.
Oh no!
Of course.
How did that not win?
It's the Pearl Harbor of movies.
Dude, how did Forgetting Sarah... We have to re-listen to it. Were we on the crystal
whiffed it.
meth?
Yeah, we whiffed it. We made a mistake, guys.
God, that we... Battleship and Hard Ticket to Hawaii and Forgetting Sarah Marshall? What? Will, I'm going to blame you.
I'm going to have to retcon that episode.
You
Yeah.
make some last-minute comment and you win it. All right,
Oh,
fine.
yeah, you know what? You're probably right. This is my fault. Don't listen to me ever. That was
All right, so a perfect getaway, 5 stars. Out of 50.
Yeah.
But so I'm feeling that, like, all right, Forgetting Sarah Marshall, we really loved it. That is a great movie.
Yeah.
And Perfect Getaway is so flawed, but honestly,
It's a movie.
I would say it is entertaining enough to watch, and just
I hear you, but it makes me so angry re-talking about it.
Yeah.
Having to
I
reflect
would.
on watching it. No, I'm gonna give it a hard pass.
Yeah, pass for me too.
a hard pass to Hawaii.
A hard pass from Hawaii.
I'm gonna give it a
So-
hard ticket to hell.
But I think that Lilo and Stitch has got the money.
Well,
Yeah.
well, Lilo and Stitch, most people don't know this, wasn't filmed in Hawaii. So you got to take that into consideration. No, I'm leading in Lilo and Stitch's direction too. Only because when I was there, and last time I was there, I was 4. I also came across an alien and made a best friend alien. So it's very true to my experience.
Was it me? Because I am a legal alien. So.
Now it's all making sense.
Week 3 just confirming that Will is in fact a phantom.
That's right.
And like I said, having been to that island and this small town, like enveloping all of this film and like embracing it, and
And then, like I was saying, the animation was using real references from in Hawaii.
Yeah,
We
for
have
sure.
people from Hawaii. We've got it's, you know what? We're doing it, guys. This is one of those cases where it's an open and shut. In the 3 that we're putting next to each other, this is the one that definitely does lean the most into Hawaiian culture and honestly respect it the most. That for now, here in season 2 of the United States of a Movie podcast, the movie to officially represent Hawaii to not just the world, But the galaxy, considering what the movie is the movie Lilo and Stitch. You can find it on Disney Plus. It is a positively charming movie. It is not Hard Ticket to Hawaii, which is definitely the number one movie we'd recommend if you're going to watch anything about Hawaii.
Very similar.
If only there'd been a snake in there. But that being said, guys, this Hawaii got a lot of movies. Hawaii does have a lot of movies. Now, one that I tried, and you guys have a knee-jerk visceral reaction against, is 50 First Dates.
Which I regret now that I had to watch Perfect Getaway. Like, a much better choice.
Yeah, maybe next time around we'd have to give that a go.
And Will, you joked about it, and honestly, I've never seen it, and I'm tempted. But yes, the movie Cameron Crowe's Aloha, where Emma Stone plays a half-Asian strawberry blonde from Phoenix.
Yeah, we all know one. So, I mean, come on. It makes sense.
But what are some of the other movies that we considered bringing to the table?
I consider it a very Brady sequel. I mean,
that's Hawaii, isn't it?
I love that. That's right. They do go to Hawaii.
I love that idea. Oh my god, my missus loves the Brady Bunch movie. That first one is like, it's a classic to her.
We mentioned 6 Days and 7 Nights, the Anne Heche.
Harrison Ford. Yeah. The Descendants.
I think it's the last movie she made before she came out, like, because she was with Ellen or something like that. Was it with that?
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Right,
also,
right.
Anne Heche, R.I.P. Right? She went out. Pearl Harbor. If we're honestly gluttons for punishment. I think the only Michael Bay movie that doesn't have a gratuitous ass shot.
Yeah, you got like the Blue Crush and Blue Hawaii and probably that Elvis movie.
Yeah,
whatever concert he did.
Finding Ohana as well as one that I mentioned to you guys, which got great reviews. And considering Ohana is definitely a big part of Lilo and Stitch, but Finding Ohana, Netflix movie, it came out. It's a very sort of Goonies-esque movie. I saw the reviews are great. I watched it and I remember not liking it, but I'd be interested in revisiting it. I wondered if it was just the fact that the pandemic had sucked all the joy out of my life. And I was like, fuck this movie. But there's a bunch of, like, Hawaii has a bunch. Or what about, like, what is that, like?
The surfing movie where the girl loses her arm?
That's Soul Surfer. But that's a true story. No, what's the one about, like, isn't it called The Final Countdown? Where like 1980s, like the USS Nimitz. No, it goes through like a time warp, and we've got F-14 Tomcats, and it's like the ability to stop Pearl Harbor from happening. I feel like we need to get random.
You're thinking of The Dial of Destiny.
I like that movie.
I do too.
I'm unashamed to say I like The Dial of Destiny. That is a good movie.
The first part of that movie.
I'm on record. No bad Indiana Jones movies.
He's wrong. The fourth one is bad. But that being said, so there is a bunch of movies for Hawaii when we come back around to try and dethrone Lilo and Stitch. But we also have to talk about where we are going next time. Where are we going next time, guys? You were just talking to them
Japan. That's a.
That is right, because Will is going to Japan. So what we're going to do is, like, next week, we're going to take a bye week. We are going to pause for a week. But the next time we do an episode, and we're probably going to get a guest in to do it, we are returning to the state of Oregon, where we crowned Nick Cage's Pig, which is a very good movie.
That beat out The Goonies, and again, I don't remember the third one.
Yeah, it beat out The Goonies and some other movie set in Oregon. But yeah, it's that. You know, do we know, like, I think, Ryan, you've definitely got a choice.
Stand By Me. Sorry, that was the movie.
That was Stand By Me.
Oh, right.
Ryan, you brought a movie you've been talking to us about. You've even done a redesign of one of the posters. I'm really interested about this movie.
I reached out to the director and the cast, and they just replied back with no. I'm just kidding. They were implied. But I want to pick the movie Strange Darling, a movie I saw towards the tail end of last year that I saw right before seeing The Substance, which completely fucking changed my brain and body. But yeah, I'll pick Strange Darling.
So
Strange Darling, I recommend going in completely blind. It's going to be...
Yeah. Dude, that's on my favorite list of for last year. It's so good.
Yeah, I know nothing about it apart from what you guys have said, which has got me kind of like interested into. I know nothing about this movie. I'm quickly looking up where you might be able to stream it. using Just Watch, the non-sponsor of our of our podcast, but how we watch every movie. No, it's not really streaming anyway. You're probably gonna have to buy that one. But Will, what are you thinking about Oregon?
Well, as it was mentioned before we started, I'm kind of in favor of Short Circuit.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm very excited by that possibility as well. That is a movie I've watched a gajillion times. I'm pretty sure I own that on Blu-ray as well. So next time out, guys, we're going to be heading to the state of Oregon. There is a 50% chance that Will might be here. Otherwise, he's going to be hanging out with his Japanese girlfriend. It's going to be awesome. The movies that we are bringing to Dethrone Pig, the classic Nicolas Cage, more modern movie that is actually like John Wick, but if you're cooking. But the movies that we are bringing to the table to dethrone it are Strange Darling and Short Circuit. Number 5 is alive, ladies and gentlemen. So, look, honestly, as always, go to Just Watch to try and find a place where you can find the movies that you want to check out on the podcast. If you don't already, please hit subscribe or notifications on YouTube. If you're watching us, jump in the comments and tell us what we're doing wrong. If you are listening to us on our Spotify or if you're listening on Apple, please give us a rate, give us a share us with your friends who like to watch movies. If you want to find more of what I do, you can find me as That Englishman in Texas. If you want to find more about what Will does, he loves to talk about movies, you can find him as Entitled Millennial on TikTok for the next 4 days when this is being recorded. But you can honestly find us on Instagram.
I'm entitled Millennial on everything: YouTube, IG, Blue Sky. So anywhere where you could be social, I'm entitled Millennial.
And you can also find Ryan and his fantastic redesigns and also just fantastic designs as well when it comes to movies as Rhino Digital, RYNO Digital. Thank you, as always, for joining us for this episode, coming along on this adventure. Send us your ideas if you can. We do have a Facebook page, the United States of a Movie. You can find us on Reddit as well. But outside of that, once again, as always, from me, from Ryan, and from Will, thanks for joining us for this episode of the United States of a Movie podcast.
Aloha.